The last time we saw him, he was conducting a rally for his people, for his supporters, and there was an attempt on his life. And I mean, this is a slight side point, I guess, but there was an attempt on his life, and he was shot 3 times in the legs. And if it wasn't for one of his supporters pulling down the gun, he would have been shot in the chest. And the supporter unfortunately lost his life in the process. But after that, we obviously rushed out and we went to see him. And God, the journey over there as well. We were in about a convoy of about 15 cars. We were in a bomb-proof car. There was a decoy car. There were a jammer car for detonators. There was armed militia in front and behind. And as we got to the house, we had to make sure our food wasn't poisoned. We had to stay away from windows for sniper threats. It was so chaotic and it's such a stressful period. But that was the last time we saw him. That was 2.5 years ago. That was the last time we were able to properly see him and speak to him. And he was, in a wheelchair with bullets. And it's strange to see him in a wheelchair because he's usually such a presence. He still managed to be, despite hobbling about. But he, that was the only time we were able to see him in recent times. And before then, we weren't able to see him much. But in our early life, he would spend as much time as he could possibly make seeing us. We would see him 7 or 8 times a year for prolonged periods. So it's such a dedicated father, and I don't think people really realize that.
You were avoiding the windows because of the risk of snipers. People were checking if your food was poisoned. How do people check that?
Taste it is the way.
Holy shit, that's insane.
Well, I mean, no.
What a life.
Be careful where the food came from, mainly. And when we went there, we had all of our cousins around who all came into the little compound, and I wanted to play cricket with them and things like that. And we weren't allowed outside in the garden, even though there were walls up high. So they were saying, okay, no, there are tall buildings all the way around there. So we couldn't do any of that. And you should have seen the way when we were trying to get from the airport to a car or the car to an airport, we were surrounded like we were penguins around by security, and we kind of shuffled into the car. It was so dramatic, and I don't say it lightly. I mean, because every time we've gone to Pakistan, there's drama, but this last time we went, it was beyond.
Would you feel safe to go there now at all if you could see your father?
Our cousins, we're urged not to go because, our aunties have been arrested. Our cousins have been arrested, some of them in prison still. There's obviously a high threat. If we go, we provide a potential weakness for our father, another way where they can potentially get to him. And so he was always quite worried about us coming during the height of tension, because he was worried, when they're desperate and they're pulling out all of these random ideas, you never know what they might do. But we've obviously thought about it. You never know.
If you had a message to the Pakistani military or the establishment or those in power or those that make the decisions, what would be your message to them?
I would say